look who it is. It's me again. Same day, same week, all right? Same topic. However, this time it's time to come up with some solutions, all right? So we laid out the whole framework on that last lecture where we were looking at, the consequences of this kind of imbalance that's happening worldwide in terms of the working public versus the older public that is dependent, okay, and how economically it's kind of a crash course. And so what we're trying to do is come up with some solutions, right, for the reality of the increased cost burden of having older people around and not enough younger people going into the workplace to support them, not enough younger people around in terms of, say, a large extended family to help with caregiving and things like that. All right. All right. So let's get right into it here, guys. So we had the social implications and economic issues. So we're going to start going into preparing ourselves. Okay. What countries can do, what we can do nationally. And this is the best one of all. We're going to do this one right here next week. What are we going to do individually? All right. I'm going to give you a whole primer on setting up your retirement for the future, and also, as you know, a lot of you guys may become financial planners someday, money managers, whatever you want to call it, and really the kind of how-tos on all that. All right. You're going to be able to ask some really crucial questions to your parents, grandparents about financial planning. All right. All right. But first, let's get in here and look at the more kind of global and international level. All righty. So you have two options right here in terms of accessing this. Okay. Again, these are kind of fun chapters to read up on the economics of aging. So it's called the Economic Preparation for Retirement. This whole aging in the 21st century reading, okay, study was done in 2017 to do a true analytical study. They had to compare cohorts. So you'll see that the timing of the groups they look at are kind of a little bit all over the place in order to do the analysis. Okay. So, anyways, you have two. This is the health and retirement study that I was talking about. Okay. Big coalition of scientists all around the world. There were economists that looked at this. You can go into the website here, okay, and check it out. This is just a laundry list of all their publications. If you like to have a fun way to look at it right here, you can use this setup right here. So you just go full screen, okay, and then you can advance, page by page like this. And then this is how you can do your reading, if you wish, okay? Again, I only wanted you to do part 3, but it gives you, it's a really cool background in terms of what you're doing right there. So that's, this is all your choice, okay? And you can, go around and go to different parts of it right here. That's how that works. You can zoom in if you want and look for terms right here. So it's all, it's all pretty cool. Anyway, that's the one method. The flip book, I think it's kind of cool. My preference, however, is I like old school PDF file. All right, so I'm going to put that up right here, and I want to be able to see everything. All right, so I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of this sucker so I can really look at it. Okay, all right. So this is a really cool, study. So the health and retirement study, okay, done by a group that was centered at the University of Michigan. Okay. But it was a lot of scientists that got involved in this. It's not just that, okay? So, work and retirement issues, okay, challenges, that are coming up, all right, in terms of our country, all right? There's a lot of topics in here, obviously, okay? The sky's the limit for you guys to kind of look at all these different components of these sections. The aging brain, is has to do with the drain on our country in terms of dementia and all that stuff. So they give some background on it, and then they get into kind of more the caregiver impact and the economic cost of all that. Anywhere you click is a hyperlink to that part of the article. All right, so what do we want to do? We wanted you to do section 3. All right, so I'm going to click right there. It's going to take me to section 3. And again, I want it to be bigger than this when I'm reading it. And we're going to look at the economic preparation for retirement. All right. So the other one, in this, again, this particular chapter within this study does give some background, like I did, where I laid the groundwork of the crash that we're going to hit. A lot of countries are going to hit if we don't figure things out in terms of getting people to live healthier, work longer, create programs so that you guys can have children, so that they can funnel into the labor market, all these things that we were talking about, okay? All right. So in terms of retirement, okay, in terms of, the economic resources, okay, to maintain and maybe even improve your lifestyle. That's what you want. That I had during my working years. So I hope things get better. Why not? That would be awesome. Okay, is it feasible? All right, and we're going to see that it's feasible not just by Social Security. Okay, it's by a combination of Social Security. If you're lucky enough, you have employer-provided public and private pensions. Now they call private pensions, they kind of mix it all together. Remember, we have this defined benefit. Okay, that is what government workers get, like congressmen, the president, police officers, people that work for the city, utility companies, things like that. And then we have a defined contribution, okay, that I contribute the money to directly from my paycheck, okay? And that's my 401k, all right? It's actually a 403b because I work for a nonprofit. We'll talk about that next week, okay? But these are the things that you have. And then you have, your personal savings, okay? What that is, maybe you take your earned income and you stick it into your BABA account, a money market account, and make no interest at all right? Minimal, 1%. Or you're putting it into retirement accounts, mutual funds we're going to talk about, right? All righty. So we're going to get into all the issues here. What motivates people to save for retirement? Okay, I'm going to live a long time. All right, I don't want to run out of money. That's the biggest one. All right. What's affecting financial security for retirement? Am I thinking ahead? All right. And then, how do households spend their money, or do they conserve their savings to retirement? You always, when you were growing up as kids, your parents used to say, you need to act your age. And my mantra is, as you get older, you need to act your wage, because you don't want to outspend what you have. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so that's what this chapter is all about. All right, so we're going to get right into it, okay? And I'm just going to scroll right through this. All right, so it gets down here to retirement, ready or not. Here we come, okay? So like I said, Social Security, that's not enough. A couple $1,000s a month is not enough. We're going to have the pension system, okay? And they are globbing this together, okay? But so you can have the kind that is a guaranteed income, by working for a government organization, or we can have the defined contribution. Private savings, okay? Whatever you can take your money and you can invest, okay? It can be invested in real estate, and you can have spin-off from that, all right? It can be invested in mutual funds, spin-off from that, okay? Or just you put money in a bank and you take it out as needed, all right? So this is the infamous three-legged stool of retirement. Okay. So, when you're sitting down with your clients, you're going to set up a spreadsheet with them, all right? And this spreadsheet is going to consider, how much money do you have, your projected, how long you're going to live, and what are your annual expenses going to look like, okay? And you do the equation, okay? And most studies have suggested that you need to have between 70 and 85% of the income that I know how, that I'm used to using on an annual basis, that needs to be available to me each and every year that I'm retired. So I don't, the projection is I don't need the full 100%, but about 70 to 80%, I'd say every 85%, all right? Okay, and so that's what we have to do, okay? And so you guys, you read through all this, right? But we have to determine the adequacy of our savings, all right? And to achieve a retirement goal. And so this is just the basic primer that you're going to have in terms of becoming a money manager someday, okay? Becoming, a strategist. It's an investment counselor, planner, thing like that, okay? Alrighty. So we look at $2,016, okay? And again, the median in terms of everything, okay? Housing income, okay? So I have a lot of equity in my house. My savings, my investment in my defined contribution, or if you're a government worker, your pension. In total, net worth close to $1 million. Okay, that's again the median, but it's everything. It's everything. A lot of it's not very liquid. Okay, yeah, I could start selling off a lot of the value of my house, but then what am I going to do? So that's what that's at. Okay. Um, we see that this was a cohort they investigated, okay, and that as you get older, it grows to about this amount. Okay, again at the median, all right, and that's what this is all about. All right. So again, very cool. So then we come down here. And it kind of lays, this. The reason for understanding this is these are your clients. How is it stacking up? Okay. We see that 40% of people that you would work with, okay, they need to have saved at least an additional 20% annually to meet the goals, okay, the financial goals of being comfortable and having that spending availability of 70, 75, 80%, all right. So that's the issue, okay. And so one of the things that a mantra we're going to have, okay, if you have a retirement shortfall, okay, then you kind of as best you can keep working to delay claiming benefits until age 65, 68. You'll see every single month that you delay it up to the maximum of 70. There's a return on that. As long as you can keep earning incomes from another source, then you're banking your Social Security for later. Okay. All righty. So how are you going to figure all this out? How is it going to work? How is your nest egg, as they show right there? Is it going to be enough? Okay. So this right here, okay, is the kind of survey that is done. This is the consumption activities mail survey. So they looked at thousands and thousands of people, okay, and in this study, and they collect detailed questions, the kind of questions that you are going to collect, from your clients, okay. What are your home-related expenses? Okay, mortgage, property taxes, rent, utilities, home repairs. You got to put all this, gardening, whatever it is, okay. All right. How about some consumables? Okay, food, drink, alcohol. You're making a budget for that. Health expenses. This sadly is a big one. We're going to talk about this in the discussion. It can be enormous. It can eat up in excess of 50% of some people's Social Security income, and leave them with nothing. And that's because it's the out-of-pocket expenses that are not covered by Medicare health insurance. Okay. All right. Transportation, clothing, entertainment. These are all part of the budget. Okay. And anything else you want to come into consideration. All right. That's all the stuff that you set up. All right. And so they then go through, and look at individuals on this. I'm going to actually make this a little smaller for me to kind of look at. All right, cool. Awesome. Okay. So baby boomers, okay, have slightly less wealth than those in the previous cohort. It's kind of hard to believe, okay? So they haven't planned this well, and you're kind of going through all this right here, okay? And the same is true, but even worse for each subsequent cohort of generation, all right? So the millennials, the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers. You know, the idea is that it's the cost of living is going up, but the ability to put money away has gone down, and the transfer of the wealth, as I explained last time, is been delayed and slower. You know, so your likelihood of getting the inheritance that gives you a little giddy up comes at such a late point in life that it's kind of a bummer. Okay. All righty. So we're looking at the composition of wealth in retirement here. So you start looking at different cohorts, okay, of people. All right. This gets into the different aspects of that three-legged stool that I was talking about. So the Social Security, okay, is there for everybody. You know, plays a much bigger role in the lower socioeconomic groups. Okay. We have this defined benefit, okay, pension system, right? This is one, you know, again, the government contribution, if you work for a city, county, state. Um, um, we also have personal retirement account benefits, okay? That's what I'm using. That's a defined contribution, okay? It can be a 401k for a large company. Mine, I work for a nonprofit, USC, that's a 403b. These are different tax codes. And then you also, we're gonna learn that each year the government puts limits on how much you can contribute. They want to encourage it. But there are limits, okay? And then the other one is something you should be doing right now. It's called a Roth individual retirement account. And then after you start making more money, then they're called individual retirement accounts. And so these are all different ways that you can increase your wealth composition for retirement. The other thing you do is housing. So obviously you buy into a house, you let the equity form, all right? Obviously the housing market's going nuts right now. If you can have multiple real estate investments, that's great, okay? Oftentimes the mortgage will be less than the leasing value or the monthly rent that somebody pays. You can buy strip malls, on and on. It's a great way, you know. I'm not at that level, but a lot of people are, okay? The wealth of married households is substantially greater. Divorce puts you, as we saw from the previous chapter when we looked at those two women that were divorced, raising children on their own, how difficult it is for them now. So it puts you a little bit behind in terms of being able to have a reasonable composition of wealth at retirement. Okay. Alrighty. And then this, you know, again, this looks like the relative distribution, all right? So we look at Social Security, okay, and defined benefit makes about 40% of the average household. Home equity, okay, 20%, okay, and a total share of real estate is, you see right there, 31%. Now, you know, again, you can kind of look at the analysis and just think how everything stacks up. You know, you don't need to know all these numbers, but it's really kind of interesting to look at that. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so we're going to scroll down here, and we're looking at Social Security right in here, okay, and how well that serves as a replacement for earnings in retired individuals right here. And we can look down here at these individual tables, okay? And we can see transitions that have been happening, okay, in terms of sex, okay? And now we can even refer this to transition that's happening by gender too, all right? So when we look right here, okay, we can see that, again, like I said, they're going to compare large cohorts. This is 1992 versus 2004 right here, okay? So these are the two groups that they were comparing, looking for changes, okay? And we see we're looking at people aged 51 to 56 years of age, okay, in these two cohorts, and what were they doing, all right? So people are staying in the workforce longer, but more so, okay, so it went from 70 to 75%, but you see the big transition was the female workforce, going from 64 to 71. That's a big difference in terms of sociological wealth transfers. That's a pretty cool thing, all right? We can look at, percent of the population working full time. Again, males go down. Okay, and we looked at 92 versus 2004 cohorts in this age group. Okay, women went up. And the big deal right here, in terms of talking about income, there was this, almost a doubling here in female Social Security income. Still lagging way behind male, but still inroads being made here. That's kind of shocking when you look at that. Okay. Alrighty. So what do we know? Single women in general fare far worse than their married counterparts in terms of retirement finances. So that was an outcome of the study. I would guess to a lot of you it's kind of obvious, but it is what it is. Okay, they were looking at right here. These are the wealth transfer. They based on categories. That's what deciles are. They're just categorization when you're doing economic analysis of different groups. And so they're comparing 1992 to 2004. Okay, and we see that with what we were talking about over here, up here, with the change in male versus female activity in the workplace, that there was a major transfer in terms of the total benefits going from one group to the other because of this change in females in the workforce. Okay, we see this individually, and we also see this in households. All right, very cool. Okay, guys. So what do we know? Okay, back in the day, my dad had a defined benefit. Okay, he had a pension that he knew he was going to get, and he would have to the day he died. And it didn't matter how the stock market was doing, didn't matter how the company was doing. Again, that's how government pensions are all about. Okay, so times are changing. Okay, because for private companies, it was making them go broke. Because you give a pretty decent defined benefit pension, and you figure, all right, the person's going to retire at 67 years of age, and maybe they'll live to 77. So that's 10 years that we're going to economically project in terms of our payout to our individual employees. But then suddenly we start pushing the limit, and people start living to become centenarians. And now you're paying this for 35 years instead of for 10 years, and you can see that that is a really bad economic model for your company. So that was it. So fewer and fewer, just a couple, I know just a handful of companies that still do it. Governments still do it, and they don't have to worry about it because all they need to do is charge more taxes to pay everybody's pension. So it's not their problem. Okay. Alrighty. So what we have now is like what I have, and it's called a defined contribution plan. Okay. And yeah, with a defined contribution plan, I know that I make so much money, and I can afford not. I can look at this other money that I'm going to use in my retirement later. Okay, so I take it away from my taxable income. I stick it into this defined contribution 403b plan, or I could, if you guys were, had your own business, you do it into an IRA, an individual retirement account. Okay, something you'll be looking at is if you do work for a big company like I do, will they match your 403b, or for the nonprofit like me, or for a big company, let's say you work for Microsoft, do they have a matching 401k? Okay, because that's like making more money, and it's a great thing. And the government encourages it. They can't just give it to you in salary. So the government says we have this whole formulation that really encourages companies to help you save for retirement. All right. Alrighty. So again, this is what's going on here. We see that few workers are benefiting from this defined pension plan, which is again that's where you're hamstrung. So why do we save? Okay, we save to maintain our lifestyles. Medical costs. We've hammered you over the head with this. Okay, it's a big deal. Okay, if you don't have socialized medicine, then you're just going to you pay higher premiums for your individual medical care, and you have lots of out-of-pocket expenses that your medical insurance may not necessarily cover. That's the one side. The flip side is you can go out and it's market driven, and you can go out and you can get the most incredible physician you want. You're not limited to something that is, doled out by the government in a socialized medicine plan. So it's always this, kind of have versus have not situation. All right. Awesome. That's the big one. Okay. Negative changes in health are the big one. If you have not saved well, then you potentially will lose your big assets that you relied upon for retirement. All right, selling your home, real estate investments, and stuff like that. All right, so that's why you need to have some really good financial literacy and planning. And in that planning, you're going to put a big chunk of it into, as I'm going to show you, into accounting for healthcare problems. Okay, nobody wants to have them, but it's got to be there. All right, so you sit down with your client and do a little financial literacy investigation. Okay, and ask them if they understand compounding of their money. Okay, if you put $100 in savings, okay, it has an interest rate of 2% a year. Okay, so after 5 years, how much do you think they'll have in their account? 102. Okay, exactly 102. More than 102. Okay. Of course, it's more than 102 because it's compounding. It's getting bigger. The principal gets bigger and bigger. And each year, 2% on 102, 2% on 104, 2% on 150, on and on and on and on. Okay. What if the interest of your account does not match inflation? Do you have the same amount of spending? Of course not. Yes. All right. So, what about? We're going to get into this. Should you invest all your money in a single stock? Okay, it's high risk. Okay, or do you want it to be safe and do a mutual fund? Safe is mutual fund. A single stock is not safe. These are all some of the things that you're going to be telling your clients. Okay, so we have employer incentives. Okay, we're going to talk about this in more greater detail. All right, so these 401k programs. Okay, they are, the reason they're set up the way they are is the government creates an opportunity for this, okay, where they say, okay, working with your employer will allow you to put away this money into a retirement account, and we're not going to be the greedy government. We're not going to tax you on this right now. So they don't get any of that money, okay? But the government understands that by deferring their taxation of that account, then you're not going to be going into a situation where you really need government help because you've run out of money. Okay, so you won't be dependent on food stamps and welfare because you plan. So this is again, the economic model and why it's so important. So that's why it's set up. So they want companies to be on board. They want you as an individual to be on board, and they incentivize everything. Okay, all right, cool. That's the whole thing right there. Now, let's look at how things have changed. Sorry, I'm going to put myself down at the bottom here. Where's my chin? There I am, okay. And, okay, so we're looking at the percent of defined benefit versus defined contribution plans, 1992 to 2014, all right? So the defined benefit, okay, that's what government employees get. That's a guarantee. Doesn't matter whether or not the company's going south or not. It's going to happen either ways. Okay, kind of a bad model, but it's easy to do as a government. A real bad model to do if you're running your own private company. All right. So we can see that red, what's happening? The number of defined benefit plans has gone down and down. 2014, we can add on another 7 years. It just goes down. All right. Cool. What about the defined contribution? All right. This is where I take my money and I invest my own money, and if I'm lucky enough, I get a match from my company, all right, because the government has enabled this. And you see that that after about 2000, things emerged, okay, and it continues to go on and up here, okay, all righty. And then we see here the purple is the average of the two. Now, what's sad is this number right here on the left, okay. You see how few people are participating, all right. That's a bummer. only to have on average in our country only 30% participation. That's a bummer. We're setting ourselves up for failure as a country, guys. So it is what it is. Okay. Alrighty. Where does the money go? You could read through this right here. Okay. We can tell you straight up that when we're looking at individuals, so we see two groups right here, olive green and aqua. Okay, who are they? Who's olive green and who's aqua? Singles are aqua, olive green are couples. Okay, now go back up here, right here, and ask ourselves the total income. So as we get older, our total income goes down. So as we pull off our investments, okay, and start spending it, it's going to go down. Okay. I'm not working anymore. That's going to go down, okay? But you see that you come out of the blocks, if you're single aqua, that you are behind the 8 ball, okay? Couples do far better, far, far, far better, okay? And then as you get older and older and older, this income generation goes down on average, okay? All right, so that's, like job income or spin-off income from real estate investments and things like that, okay? We look at the total wealth. This brings in everything, okay? So not just income, new money. Income is new money coming in. We look at the pot of money that we may be sitting on, home equity, okay? Retirement accounts, things like that. All right, and again, being single sucks. Aqua, 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 and we see way out here, okay? We see lots of olive green, lots more wealth, You can see that it's 5 times what the aqua has here, right here, all right? In this particular study, they didn't have, over 90 people sadly were, didn't make it as a couple, okay? All right, I shouldn't laugh, all right? And then we look at total spending, okay? You have a lot more money, okay? Either from income, from your total pot of money you're sitting on, your 3-legged stool, okay? The value of your house and the value of your investment accounts, okay? So you have a lot more money, but you see right here that you don't spend twice as much when you're a couple, all right? So you're actually spending less than the person that's single, when you look at the distribution on average, okay? All righty, very cool. So that's the kind of setup right there. So we've looked at the problem. We looked at a set of solutions here, okay? So obviously we have to, it's the incentive that being able to incentivize and get people to do it, all right? To go and save for the future, so you sit down with your spreadsheet and you explain to people why this is so important, okay? Just like we're trying to create an incentive for people to get vaccinated, all right? Same drill, okay? Alrighty, that is it for now, my friends. I'm gonna say peace again. Look at that, see? Marriage is obviously better. Check that out, man. That was Julie and I down at Cabo, just the two of us, me surfing with my then girlfriend. It was paradise. All right, guys. Peace. We'll see you next time.